What is the best gift anyone has ever given you? And why did you like it so much? What's the best gift you have ever given anyone? Hello everyone, I'm Kathleen Pelly. Welcome to Journey with Story. I wonder how you answered my question. At this time of the year, many of us are thinking about what gifts we can buy for our friends and family. And perhaps we're also wondering what gifts we might receive from Santa or from friends and family. Today's tale is a story from Russia about a poor farmer who is given a very unusual gift from none other than Father Frost. Let's take a listen and find out what this gift was, but before we begin, a huge thanks to Marlena for sending us this message recently. Your podcast is a regular part of our bedtime routine. My 10-year-old son, Cadence, really likes your podcast. He loves to fall asleep to your stories. Your version of Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod is our favourite and is frequently chosen. Thanks from Marlena and Cadence in Eugene, Oregon. Thank you for such a lovely note. We love to hear from our listeners. And a huge thanks to all of you who have taken the time to rate, review and share this podcast with others. If you haven't already done so, do take a moment, please, today to rate, review and share this podcast with someone who might really enjoy it. Now, let's take a journey with The Gift of Father Frost. One winter evening, a stranger knocked at the door of a farmhouse, hoping there was somewhere he could sleep for the night. "Who are you?" asked the poor man who lived there. "I am the youngest son of Father Frost," the stranger replied. "I'm on my way from the far north to visit other lands." The man invited the stranger inside, and as it suddenly turned chilly, he let his guest sleep on the bed above the stove. In the morning, the room was bitterly cold and sparkling white with frost. The man was amazed to find that, despite the freeze, his guest was sleeping without any bedclothes. For a moment he was afraid the traveller had died of the cold. But the stranger woke up, complained that the room had been too warm, and went on his way. A few weeks later, another stranger appeared at the man's door. He told the man that he was the second son of Father Frost and asked for a bed, just like his brother. As before, the poor man offered him the bed above the stove. In the morning, the room was so cold that the logs of the wooden walls were cracked and the water barrel had frozen. However, as before, the stranger lay asleep without any bedclothes. When he woke up, he complained that the room had been so hot he couldn't get to sleep until dawn. Then he went on his way. A few weeks later, a third stranger appeared at the door. He explained that he was the eldest son of Father Frost and asked the man if he had a bed for the night. "No," the man said firmly. "Your two brothers stayed here and gave me no thanks. Be gone on your way." But the stranger pleaded for somewhere to rest his head. "I apologize for my brother's behaviour," he said. "I promise I shall be grateful." The eldest son looked so weary that the poor man felt sorry for him. "You may sleep in the barn," he said. Next morning, the trees in the yard were hung with icicles. As the man walked to the barn, the air was so cold that it hurt his teeth. The barn door was open, and just like his brothers, the stranger was asleep with no bedclothes. He woke up with a smile. "What a pleasant place to sleep," he said. The weather was perfectly cool. He opened his travelling bag and pulled out 2 small, clean sacks. "Take these gifts from my father as thanks for your kindness. The black one is a hot sack, and the white one is a cold sack. If you need heat or cold, just open the mouth of a sack a little. But be warned, too much will blast you like a burning furnace or freeze you like midwinter." Then he went on his way. The gifts of Father Frost now gave the poor man an easy life. He never needed to chop firewood because the heat sack warmed his house. It also melted the snow in his fields, so his crops could begin growing early in the year. Before long, his neighbours began to wonder why his fields were green when their ground was still frozen. Soon, a rumour began to spread that the man had a magical heat sack. The rumour reached the farmer who owned the land where the poor man lived. He summoned the man to his house. "Is it true that you have a magical heat sack?" he asked. "Yes, master," said the man. "Then fetch it," said the farmer. "I demand to have it." The man went home, but he didn't want to give up his precious gift from Father Frost, and so he hid inside his farmhouse. When he didn't return, the farmer went to look for him and banged on his door. "If you won't obey my order, you must leave this house at once," he shouted. "Everything you have belongs to me." The man opened the door a crack. In his hands was the cold sack. He opened it a little, and a sudden blast of bitterly cold air hit the farmer's face, freezing his nose and biting his ears. With a roar of pain, the farmer ran away and never bothered the poor man again. Still, rumours grew about the poor man's heat sack, and a few months later, the richest farmer in the village offered to buy it for a bag of gold. But the poor man refused. "Gold will soon be spent," he said. "I'd rather keep what I have." The rich farmer was not used to being unable to buy what he wanted. That night, while the poor man slept, he returned and stole the heat sack. When the rich farmer got home, he opened the sack wide. A fierce heat blazed out, instantly making his house as hot as an oven. Fearing he would melt on the spot, the farmer quickly fled and hurried to the house of the poor man. Once there, he confessed what he had done and asked for help. The poor man took the cold sack to the rich farmer's house. He only had to open it for a moment to cool the house. Then he tied up the heat sack and took back what was his. The rich farmer thanked him and never troubled him again. Eventually, the king himself heard about the magical sacks. He too offered to buy them for gold, but the poor man would not part with his treasures. "Then come and live in my palace," said the king. In return for opening the heat sack once a day to warm the palace and make the flowers in my garden blossom, you shall have all you wish for." The man agreed, and so he was no longer poor and became a friend to the king. One day a messenger came to the palace with news that an army was invading. The king sent his own army to defend the country, but despite fighting bravely, it was sadly defeated. "Don't be afraid," said the man with the special sacks. "Hide your people in the palace cellars and let the enemy soldiers come. I shall meet them." So the king ordered all his people to hide in the palace cellars. When the soldiers arrived, they were surprised to find the city empty. "What an easy victory!" they cried, and they marched to the palace to celebrate. While they were busy eating and drinking, the man crept close with a cold sack. He put it under a table, opened it wide, and hurried away. A bitter, icy blast whistled through the palace, turning it white with frost. The soldiers were terrified. They immediately fled from the winter freeze, shivering and shuddering, and vowed never to enter that kingdom again. Then the man opened his heat sack so that warmth returned, and he could close the cold sack once more. After that, no enemy ever dared to invade the kingdom again. The man lived happily in the palace with his friend the king, and when he died, the magical sacks disappeared and were never seen again. Well, wasn't that interesting to see how valuable those two magic sacks of heat and cold turned out to be? I wonder, could you write your own story about another way that someone could use those magical sacks to escape from a dangerous situation? Remember, if you go to www.journeywithstory.com, you can download some free colouring sheets there to accompany our stories. Cheerio then, join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.